Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Pargat Singh. I'm a second year student of computer engineering at KJSCE College of Engineering. I am also a Alpha Student Ambassador at Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors, and I'm also the part of the creative team at KJSCE CodeCell. And I welcome you all to today's workshop, which is on Introduction to Git and GitHub. This is going to be a hands-on workshop type of a session wherein I encourage you all to open up the programs which I suggest, which is mainly going to be VS Code and Terminal, to code along with me, to learn along with me, so that you can actually get the essence of what I'm teaching. Okay, so before I start, I'd like to give a gist of what I'm gonna cover in today's session. So firstly, we'll go through what is version control, and many people who are actually using it still don't know what a version control system is and how a version control system is, comes in play in Git. So we'll be covering first what a version control is. Then we'll be covering basic CLI commands. So CLI basically stands for command line interface, and I believe that we as programmers must know a basic of command line, so that when you progress ahead as a web developer, or matter of fact any developer, you have some knowledge of the command line. Okay. After that, then straight up we'll be introducing you to Git, and I'll be teaching you how to install Git and how you'll use basic Git commands to actually track your files. And then we'll be setting up VS Code, and we'll be using VS Code alongside with Git and GitHub, which is our next topic, that is Introduction to GitHub, wherein I'll be teaching you how you can fork projects. And I believe someone was asking what a pull request is and how you can make pull requests. And the wonderful thing about GitHub is that you can actually contribute to open source projects, and how you can contribute to open source project. What is the workflow of it? And at last, finally, we have a final quiz wherein the winners of the quiz will be getting a LinkedIn Premium and Xbox Game Passes. Also, one more thing which I like to tell you about in today's session is I'll be giving you how you can get the free GitHub Student Developer Pack that every student gets. And okay, sorry. So firstly, don't feel like मैं तुम्हें ध्यान नहीं दे रहा. I'm actually using dual screens. So I'll most of the time I'll be talking by looking over here. It is the screen which I'm presenting to you, but I'll try to look into the camera as much as possible. So yeah. So firstly, you can get this GitHub Student Developer Pack. मैं बताऊंगा, ठीक है, कि कैसे आ सकता है. All this, ये सारी चीजें you can get it for free, all these things. And also इसमें बहुत सारी अलग अलग चीजें हैं. Like you can sort it accordingly, like cloud है, design है, there are developer tools out there. For example, in design, you can get Figma for free. And recently, many of you might know कि Figma was acquired by Adobe and it's now becoming a paid software. But students can get its benefits for free. Okay, without wasting time, let's get learning. So firstly, what a version control system is. Does any one of you have an idea or anything? क्या लगता है तुम्हें? What do you get in mind when you hear a version control system? So let's take an example. Let's understand by an example. Okay, let's say you are a designer and you are working for a client, and the client has given you some certain specifications, and you are supposed to come up with a poster. So you go ahead, you visualize things, and you come up with a poster. तुमने एक poster design किया, and you name the file as poster.png. Now you are quite skeptical कि will the client like the poster or not. So what you do is you actually go to a friend and go to him. You go to him and you ask him कि इसमें मैं क्या changes करूँ, and he suggests you to change the font and थोड़ा placing change करो, and he says कि ये सब करेगा, it will look good. So you make that changes and you make a final poster which you think कि हाँ, this the client will like. So you make a final poster.png and then you are confident enough. अब तुम्हें लगता है कि client will actually like this. So you go to the client and you show him the poster. He's like, no, I want these changes. Do one thing, change the entire colors, change the entire font, placing भी अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, photos अच्छी डाल. And you are like, okay, अब मेरे को पूरा poster scratch से बनाना है. So you actually make those changes and you make a final poster.png. And now you're confident that this is exactly what the client wants, and now I'll go to the client and he'll accept this. But in reality, you go to the client and he says ki nahi, purana version was better. Do one thing, just change the colors in the old version and make the final version and give it to me. So now what you have to do is you have to revert back to the original version. That was the last version you made, and then make some changes and make the new version, which is the final version of the product, which the client actually approves. So all the system which I explained you कि यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है is the entire journey of a software development. For example, let's take an app like Instagram. It wasn't made in a single day, right? It had gone through many changes. And बहुत सारे bugs आते हैं. Developers add in more features and like they test those features. This is somewhat similar to how a journey of a software project is when you work in a group. Okay? So that whole system, okay, like naming those files and what changes you are making is entirely what a version control system stands for. So it manages the entire process of the version and keep tracks of the changes made. So over here also, I was keeping the track of the changes, right? I know, okay, this was the initial change. This was the change I made after meeting my friend. This was the final poster. So I was somehow tracking it, but without using a version control system. I was using a system of mine only. So that's why we need a VCS or a version control system so that we can track the changes which are made. And secondly, we can also revert back to any versions when we need. As I told you in the example that the client didn't like the version which I proposed to him after making those changes. He asked me to revert back to the original changes. And now if मैंने वही same file में changes करके वही same नाम से store किया होता, then I won't be able to revert back, right? But since मैंने उसका version का track रखा, that is why I was able to revert back. So it helps us to revert back to the changes. And secondly, it also helps me to compare those changes which I made between two different versions. Okay. The other point is कि for example, if you're working in a software development project team or like you're working in a big team of multiple creative individuals. So वहाँ पे there are many people. So you need to know who made those changes, when those changes were made, why those changes were made, right? So all these things, ये सब का track VCS रखता है. And that's why we use VCS because it gives all of this with a minimal effort. ठीक है? So now if anyone asks you कि version control system क्या होता है, you can actually take the example of the designer, which you are, and explain them, okay? Now, before we actually learn about Git, I'll highly recommend you to let's learn about CLI, that is the command line interface, and let's learn a bit about it, and then we'll get practical, okay? So firstly, there are two types of interfaces. Firstly, that is the GUI and the CLI. GUI stands for the graphical user interface. The normal Windows or the normal file system that we use in our day-to-day life is the GUI, that is the graphical user interface. And the CLI or the command line interface is also a method by which we can interact with a computer. The main point of user interface or any interface is to enable the interaction, that is enable the interaction between me and my computer, right? So you usually use the graphical user interface, but there is a benefit of using the command line interface. What are some benefits? Firstly, I'll say it's a bit quicker than using the normal file system. Secondly, command line interface gives you more control over your computer. You can actually change those root files, which is not possible from the graphical user interface in many cases. Okay. So we'll be starting with some basic CLI commands. So I'm not asking you to learn all those CLI commands, jitne bhi sare hai, sab yaad kar lo, master the command line, and like just become a pro. But I'm just saying you ki these basic commands will help you to like navigate the CLI, to list the files. You can actually make folders in it, and it's quite important. Okay. So by the way, how many of you are using Windows over here? You can raise your hands. So most of you, okay. So I'll mainly be using macOS, but I also have a Windows device over here. So so firstly, yeah, you can lower your hands. Okay. So firstly, let's do it. So firstly, I'll recommend you all to open up the start menu and actually search for terminal. This is actually present in the newer version of Windows. Okay, if you're using an old version of Windows, I guess in old builds of Windows 10, it isn't present. But if it is present, then open the terminal. But if you don't have the terminal, don't panic. You can use the PowerShell also. Windows PowerShell. Okay, that will do the job as well. Okay, so we have some commands over here. The first command is pwd. Okay, right over here. So what pwd does is it prints the current directory ka full path, the directory you are currently present in. So by default, it is present in the users directory. So if I type in pwd, it just shows me the path of which folder I am present in. Okay, and okay, I am not abandoning the Mac users. On Mac also, you can open the terminal app right over here and type in the commands which I'm saying. So for example, on Mac also pwd works. So also one more thing I'd like to tell you ki not all Unix based commands will work on Windows. Why? Because Windows is a DOS based operating system, whereas Mac OS and Linux is a Unix based operating system. मतलब इसका ये होता है कि Windows was built on top of MS-DOS. That's why some commands are a bit different. Okay, we'll be seeing how. Okay, and whereas on Mac OS and Linux there is nothing to worry about. Okay, so the first command I taught you was pwd, right over here. Now the next command is the cd command or the change directory command. So it will help me to navigate through the folders. So for example, if I need to change my directory to desktop, I can just type in desktop. And one more thing, don't type the whole thing. You can just type the first 3 words and press the tab key and it will autocomplete for you. It's that simple. Okay? It looks a bit complicated, but trust me, it isn't a bit that complicated and it makes you look cool. And now what you can see is कि यहाँ पे अब desktop भी add हो गया. The path has changed. So if I type in pwd, you can see now the path has been changed to desktop. Now I'm in my desktop folder. And just to confirm that I'm really in my desktop folder, I can use the ls command or the list command. Okay, list command does what it says, कि it lists all the files present in the current directory. So for example, if I press the list command, you can see all these folders are present over here. And the same goes for macOS as well. So I'll change my directory to desktop, right? And now I'll press ls. So as you can see, my desktop is a bit cluttered. And yeah, so that is. And also one more thing, if you need to clear your command line, you can just type in clear and press enter and it will clear the screen for you. I'll do the same over here. Yeah, simple. And now I suggest all of you to make a directory named as learning Git. Okay, because we'll be learning Git. I'll just close this. Okay, we'll be learning Git. So to make a directory, the command is mkdir. So make directory. And we'll be making a directory named as learning git -git. Okay, and what you can see over here is a folder ban gaya apne aap. And that's the power of command line. It's very fast. For example, if I need to do the same thing using GUI, what I have to do, I have to first right click over here and then I have to like go into new folder, select karo, and then I have to name the folder. It's quite slow, right? Whereas in the command line, it's quite quick. Like all I have to do is type in mkdir and make a directory. So I'll do the same over here on macOS as well. Learning Git. Okay. And now what we'll do is we'll change the directory from the desktop to that learning Git directory. So change directory clear. The command is cd learning Git. So I'll just press tab key and it will autocomplete and press enter. And now I'm in that learning Git folder. Just to confirm, the folder is empty. And that's why the list command is showing nothing. The output is none. Okay, you can also use the list command to show the hidden files. I'm telling you this, why? Because I have to show you one thing. So the list command to show the hidden files in the current computer is ls-a. Okay, sorry. Yeah, it is ls-a to list all the command. And now you can see over here कि यहाँ पे दो चीजें present है. One, a dot is present and the other 2 dots are present. So in command line, the dot currently stands for the current working directory. So for example, if I try to do cd into dot, you can see nothing happens because dot represents the directory which I'm currently present in. So जो pwd print करता है ना वो ये dot का ही address print कर रहा है. That is the current directory का address. whereas the dot dot stand for the parent directory. Like if I try to do cd to dot dot, that is जो current directory के parent directory है उसका, and then what will happen, you can see my print working directory is changed to desktop. I'm now in the parent folder. Getting it कि क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे. So now to go back into that learning git folder, I'll do cd learning git. Yeah, I'm back in. Also in Windows, ls-a won't work. Okay, just a second now. Yeah. Okay, on Windows, ls-a won't work. I believe it's ls hyphen hidden. We'll check just once. Okay. Yeah, it's ls hyphen hidden.
Yeah.
Right? And it shows the hidden files over here. But since it's a MS-DOS based operating system, it doesn't shows that the dot file and the parent folder. But it actually works. For example, if I try to change my directory to the parent folder, it will actually change the directory to desktop. So all those commands are working, but the functionality is a bit limited. So that's it. That's it for the command line wala part. It was quite easy. You learned 4 new command line commands which you can use to navigate the command line, and which you can use, and it also looks cool. Okay, and let's go ahead with what is Git. So I recently just explained you what a version control system is and how a version control system comes into play for tracking files and why it is needed. So Git is a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle small and very large projects with speed and efficiency. So all those things, all those benefits of version control system are present in Git. That is why it is the preferred platform for all the programmers. Okay? That's why we all use Git to track our files so that it keeps the record of who is making those changes, why those changes were made, when those changes were made, and you can also revert back to those changes. So that is why we use Git. And as I promised, I'll be teaching you how to install Git on your machine. So we'll be installing Git. So it's quite simple. All you need to do is go ahead and search for Git download on Google. And the first link over here will actually show you the download link. So I'll first tell you the macOS wala part because it's quite simple, and then I'll be teaching you how you can install it on Git on Windows. So first, Mac users are supposed to install Homebrew, which I highly recommend any Mac user to install it. So installing Homebrew is as simple as copying this command over here by pressing this button, and then what you can do is okay, then what you can do is go in your terminal and paste this command over here and press enter, and it will ask for your macOS ka password. Put in your password, and it will start installing the script. Okay, so that is how simple installing Homebrew is on Mac. And then all you need to do is just paste in this command, that is brew install git, and it will automatically install Git on your computer. Since I already have installed Homebrew and Git on my Mac OS, I won't be installing it, but trust me, it's as simple as I just told you. Okay. On Windows, it's a bit complicated. I'll teach you by using the Windows machine. Just a second. Someone is in the lobby. Okay. Yeah. So on Windows, all you need to do is first download the version which is suitable for your computer. Most of you will be using 64-bit Windows PC. So I'll suggest you to download 64-bit Git for Windows setup. And once you download the file, I have already downloaded it over here. Okay. Here it is. So I also have a 64-bit PC. So I'll open it. And it will ask me, do you want to make changes to this device? And I'll say yes. And it will open the installation wizard. So just a second, I can't install it by using the remote desktop app. So I'll need to install it by using the PC. So all you need to do is click next, next. And yeah, so I previously did install Git on this, but as you can see, no Git is installed over here. I'll show you. Just to check it once, does your PC already have Git ka support or not? All you can do is again go in terminal and type in this command, that is git version and just press enter. And since the terminal is returning an error key git is not recognized by the command line, it means that git is not installed on your computer. But if you have previously installed git, you can skip this step and just wait for me to come over there. Okay. So I'll click on next. 1 second. Yeah, next. Just go ahead and click on next. That's it. And it will start installing Git for your computer. It will also install a terminal called as Git Bash, which is actually helpful and which actually implements a Unix-based environment. And you can actually practice the command lines, which I actually taught you now. So we'll just wait for the installation. I believe, okay, I didn't ask this question. How many of you over here are using macOS, by the way? You can raise your hands. Okay. 1, 2. Okay, 2 of you. Nice. Great. And for Linux users, it's quite simple. If you're using a Debian-based or a Ubuntu-based system, you can use apt-get install git, or else you can use pacman for Arch Linux and so on and so forth. The guide is quite efficient over here. And now I think so all of you have installed Git, and I also recommend you to install VS Code. I believe सब लोगों ने VS Code install किया होगा because it's quite needed for the first year. If not, then we'll be installing it right now, and I'll be setting up VS Code also. So all you need to do is go ahead and head over to the VS Code ka site. Just Google search Visual Studio Code, and the first site which comes up is the actual site, and download the Visual Studio Code. Just press the download button over here. It will auto detect your operating system and download it for you. Okay. So I'll be installing it on the Windows over here. So this is the VS Code ka file. And first do accept the agreement. And I also want to create a desktop package, of course. And just install VS Code. It will hardly take a minute or so to install VS Code. And VS Code is actually a text editor on steroids, which actually implements extensions so that you can run your projects. And there are many things you can do with VS Code. So yeah, that's it. Has everyone installed Git and VS Code? If yes, then please raise your hands. I'll move ahead then. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8. Nice. What about the rest of you? Are you facing any problem? कुछ issue आ रहा है? 11. Okay, those who have actually installed Git can actually check the installation by using the command which I taught you, that is git -- version. And please don't worry, ये सारे resources of the current workshop are given in the PPT, and you can refer the PPT. And for the PPT also, I've made a Git repository over here. We'll be learning how you can copy this Git repository and open it on your local machine and view the files. So all these things, all the links which I'm showing you in the video are present over here. Okay, so no need to worry. And I'm also providing you with some quick cheat sheets from Git and GitHub themselves. So I have a Git cheat sheet over here from GitHub Education themselves, which contains all the basic Git commands that you'll need in your journey. Okay. So I'll wait for a minute, I think so. Or okay, guys, you can lower your hands, by the way. Yeah, I was saying you can actually check if your Git installation was successful or not by typing in git. Okay, I'll increase the font a bit. I believe this is visible. So you can type in git -- version and press enter, and it will show you the current Git version. So just to check it, Git is actually installed on your machine or not. So I'll just check it on the Windows machine as well. I'll open up terminal. I'll type in git hyphen version. And yeah, it is installed. So no need to worry about. Okay. So I also believe कि Visual Studio Code भी install हो गया होगा अभी तक. So firstly, I'll suggest you all to open the VS Code app. So we'll be opening the Visual Studio Code app. And this is how it will look. Okay. And now what we'll be opening is we'll be opening the folder which we created using the command line, that learning Git folder on the desktop. So I'll click on open folder. I'll go in my desktop and you can see the learning Git folder over here. I'll open that folder. And now we'll be first, okay, before we start learning Git and GitHub, I'll suggest you to go in this extensions tab over here and search for GitHub and install GitHub. Okay. And once you have installed the GitHub ka extension, you'll see a GitHub ka logo over here. All you need to do is search for GitHub in the search bar. Yeah, first one, the verified one. And another extension I'll highly recommend you all, which you'll be needing in your first year, is the Code Runner extension. So just go ahead and install it. आज हमें इसका जरूरत नहीं होगा, but you'll be needing this to run code, to run and compile code over in your for your projects. Okay. Secondly, I'll say go ahead and open settings by clicking this icon over here. Okay. Open settings. And firstly, turn on auto save after a delay, because like बहुत times ये होता है कि you actually close your editor without saving those files, and that is really frustrating. By like when you get back to your project after a week and then you realize कि तुमने कुछ save नहीं किया, or sometimes your friends mess up with you and they actually close the code editor on purpose. So that's why I highly recommend you to turn on after delay. Okay. And secondly, what I'll say is search for run in terminal. That code runner extension which I suggested you to install will have this option. So in extensions, code runner mein jao and tick this option called as run in terminal. You'll be needing this while you're running your Python files, your C files. Okay. And that's it. And the benefit of using Visual Studio Code is you can actually run any language in this. All you need to do is like just install the extensions and make sure that you have the compiler of the given language. For example, मैं यहाँ पे C में भी code करता हूँ, C++ में भी code करता हूँ, Python में भी करता हूँ, also code in Java. So all these code मैं एक ही editor use करता हूँ, that is VS Code. So that is the benefit of using VS Code. I hope so all of you have installed GitHub ka extension. And now we'll be actually learning how to use Git. So the first command I taught you was how to check the version of the Git, that is git hyphen version. And now we'll be setting up Git so that we can actually, tell Git who we are, because we need to leave a timestamp and a stamp of who made those changes. So we'll be first adding our username and adding our user email ID. Okay, and how we do so, I'll be teaching you, right? So firstly, right click over here and you'll see, okay, sorry. I'll say click over here on problems and go in terminal and you'll see the terminal booting up, right? Click over here on problems and then click on terminal. That's it. Okay. And now type in git config, because we are changing the config file and we are changing the config file for the whole operating system. So for global, and what we are changing, the attribute username, user.name. Okay, is this visible by the way, guys? Is the command I'm typing is visible? Okay, great. Yes, okay. So username, and now just give a space and type in your username. So I'll be typing in Saint Electron, that is my gaming name. And close the hyphen. So this is the command to set the username for yourself. So just press enter and nothing will happen. Okay? It will automatically go in the config file and set the username as Saint Electron for you. Okay. So those who are looking for the command, this is the command config -- global user.name and then your username, and make sure not to leave any spaces. I'll suggest you to use hyphens without leaving any spaces. Okay, so that's how you can set up your username. Okay, and now I also have to set up my email ID. So I'll use config again. I'll go in global. Oh, sorry, I'll go in the config file. I'll set it for global. And what I'm setting is user.email, right? And I'm setting that value to my email address. So put in your email address in the hyphen. Close it and just press enter. And just to check if जो मैंने changes अभी किए are actually saved in those config files, what I'll do is firstly I'll clear my terminal so that you can see. So just to check those changes are actually saved the way I wanted, I'll go in Git. I'll check the config file and I'll use the list command -list, I believe. Oh, it's 2 dashes. So it actually suggests you any small errors. So it is git config -list. And over here you can see, okay, just I'll go down and down. Yeah. So to exit this, just press Q and you'll exit that Vim editor. And over here, you can see the attributes of username is set to Saint Electron and user email ID is set to my email ID, right? It's that simple. And it actually works same on macOS as well. So I'll go to config file. I've actually set up Git over here on my main machine. And you can see that username and email ID, those two attributes are already set. Okay, is everyone with me? If yes, you can just thumbs up or do some reaction. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll initialize this repository as a Git repository. And uske liye kya command hai, I'll teach you. Firstly, whenever you open the terminal in VS Code by clicking over here and then going in terminal, it auto opens in the current working directory. तो ये जो folder मैंने यहाँ पे open किया है, ये वही folder में यहाँ पे terminal खोलता है. And just to make sure कि what I'm saying is true, we'll just print working directory by using pwd command, and you can see over here. Okay, just to verify it, I'll clear the screen, and now I'll initialize this repository, this folder as a Git repository so that I am telling Git to track the changes which I'm making in this file. So the command for that is git init. Init stands for initialization. So just type in git init and press enter, and that's it. And it actually says the message that initialized empty Git repository in the folder. So yeah, and the same thing works on macOS as well. So I'll quickly go in the folder and yeah, so I'll type in git init and press enter. And now what I'm trying to show you over here is key. If you try to look at the hidden files, what Git actually does is creates a .git ka file. And this .git file stores all the changes which you are making in the current folder. And this is the file responsible for tracking all the changes. Okay. So the same thing happens in the Windows over here as well. It actually makes a .git folder, but since it's a hidden folder, it's not visible to your normal file system. You need to go ahead in Windows and enable the show hidden files option. Okay. And now I've initialized this repository as a Git repository, and now I'll start tracking files. Okay. So firstly, I'll right click over here in the VS Code ka empty space, and I'll create a new file, name as file.txt. Simple. We'll be using text files. कोई code नहीं करूँगा, कुछ complex नहीं, simple सा. And I'll type in hello world over here. ठीक है? As a good programmer. ठीक है? And now we'll be learning about a NuGet command. Okay, I'll present. We'll be learning about NuGet command. And acha, okay, before learning about NuGet command, let's first visualize how Git actually works. So there are 3 parts of a Git project. Firstly is the normal working directory. Secondly, there is something called as the staging area. So a staging area is something wherein you put your files जो तुम्हें अभी commit करनी है. So just a second, guys. There is someone in the lobby. So when you use the git add command, which we will be using right now, it actually elevates your files from that working directory to that staging area, so that these files are yet to be committed. And commit हम कब करते हैं? By using the git commit command, and then it actually commits those files and stores a snapshot. A snapshot is like a version. So हमने जो starting में यहाँ पे designer का example लिया था, wherein actually told you that there were some changes. So from version 1 to version 2 there were some changes. The designer made some changes, but he just changed, वो ऐसा नहीं कर रहा था ना कि he just changed a particular color and he was making a new version out of it. He was making many multiple changes, and then he was making that as a final version. So this is what we are doing over here. We are actually making some changes, and we keep on adding those changes to those to that staging area. And then when we are like finally confident enough ki yeah, this can be become a version, and then we add those changes to the final git commit, to that final what you say, to that final by storing that final version and capturing that snapshot. Okay, so some git commands which we'll be using right now are these all I'll be teaching you. So chalo, let's open VS Code over here. And firstly is the git status command. Just type in git space status and press enter. And यहाँ पे what you can see is it actually says on branch master and no commits yet. And it actually says ki to, like there is a untracked file name as file.txt, and to add this file to be committed, just use the git add command and then the file name. So we'll do that only to add this file so that I can start tracking this file. So I'll type in git add and then file name. So again, pura mat type karo, just type in the first 2 letters or the first 3 letters and press the tab key. It will auto complete and press enter. And now if I type in git status command, you can see it says changes to be committed. So now this file has been added to the staging area. So now this file can be committed, can be stored as a snapshot, right? And before like I tell you how you can actually commit this file, like for example, first we were over here, then I use the git add command. Now we are in the staging area. But what if अगर तुमने गलती से गलत file add कर दी to the staging area and you don't need that file, and how you can revert back from the staging area to that working directory? So the command for that is git reset. So I'll use git reset and then the file name. So that is file.txt. I'll press tab and press enter. And now if I do git status, you can see again this file is untracked. Why? Because I removed it from the staging area. And now we'll add it again, but this time we'll be adding it quite a bit differently. We'll not be using the name. We'll be using the current directory. Since this is the only file in the current working directory, I can add the entire directory ke files to the git add command. So as I told you while learning CLI, key dot stands for the current directory. So I'll go ahead with git add dot, press enter, and it will add that file. So I'll type in git status, and you can see that this file has been added to the staging area. Okay. I think so. ये दिख रहा होगा अभी सबको. Okay. I'll clear my terminal once, and we'll move on, right? So now we have learned about git status. We have learned about git add. We have learned about git reset. And now the fun part comes. That is git commit. So what a commit is actually. A commit is basically, I told you, you are actually compiling a version. You're actually telling Git ki, this is my version 1 or this is my version 2, wherein I made in these changes. So we'll be making a commit, and how to make a commit, wo dekhte hain. Now we'll just check the status once. So as you can see that the changes are yet to be committed. So how to commit a Git file? I'll clear my terminal first. And the command for committing a Git file to actually make a version of it is git commit and then -m. And after the -m, give a space and put in your message between the apostrophe. And please note, यहाँ पे कोई important and like कोई ऐसा message डालो so that you can actually get a gist of what this version actually stands for. So since this is an initial commit, I'll type in initial commit over here, and I added hello world. Okay. So this is the command for committing a Git file, and I'll just press enter. And it actually shows you कि initial commit added hello world and one file was changed. Okay. And now what happens is if I type in git status, you can actually see कि on branch master nothing to commit and working tree clean. That is, all these files in my current working directory are committed. So there is nothing to be committed, there is nothing to be staged, सब कुछ up to date है. Okay. ये समझा सबको what a commit is actually? ठीक है. Yes. So next command which we have is git log. What git log does is actually shows you all the commits in the current branch. अब ये branch क्या होता है? This is a new term. This is a whole new concept of branching in Git. We'll see. Okay. But before, we'll first learn about the git log command. So I'll open the Chrome desktop. Yeah. So I'll type in git log and just press enter. And you can see it over here. Ki firstly, it's showing me a hash. This is firstly a SHA-1 hash. No need to know कि ये क्या होता है क्या नहीं. Just think it as an ID. कि एक ID जैसा है वो मेरे commit का. And now, as I told you at the start of the session, we need something, a version control system which tracks who made those changes, when those changes were made, and why those changes were made. Right? So ये सारी चीजें Git is actually tracking it for me. And it's actually storing that as an ID. And we can actually go back to this ID. And वो कैसे करते हैं, I'll just teach you. So before that, I want you all to add a new file called as new.txt in your folder and add in key added new file. And now I want you all to actually add this file to the staging area and then commit this file. ठीक है, along with me. Let's see कौन पहले करता है. Okay. I'll clear my terminal and I'll quickly add this file. So I want you all to commit this with me. If there is any problem, just let me know. I'll show you the process once again. Okay. So I've added new file. Okay. First, I added that to the staging area. Then I made the commit and I'm now committing the changes. Just to check, I'll type in git status at last and I'm working, my working tree is clean. Just to show you कि there are actually two commits which I made. So I'll type in git log command to show me the logs of all commits. And यहाँ पे we can see कि, and also one more thing, कि if it is not loading quietly, you need to press the arrow down key and यहाँ पे end लिख के आएगा. So someone just asked me कि ये end से कैसे निकलूं मैं बाहर. So all you need to do is press Q. Okay. So now you can see it over here कि there is this commit which I made just right now, that is added new file. And there is the first commit which I made, that is initial commit, wherein I had added the hello world. So now this is the version 2 of my compilation, right? And what if मैंने, as I told you in the example earlier, कि मेरे को वापस पुराने version पे जाना है. What if I need to go back to the original version? वो कैसे करें? So for that, we have a git checkout command. So we'll type in, okay, first I'll type in git checkout. And then to go back to the original version, you need to copy this hash over here. Okay. So I'll copy this. And to paste it, just press Ctrl Shift V and it will paste that hash. And once you hit the enter button, you'll see something that the new text file is now deleted. And यहाँ पे बस hello world वाला file है. That's because in the original version of my first version, there wasn't any new text file. So खाली hello world का file था. That's why it got deleted. Now I'm back to the original version. And now I can make changes over here. But now how to get back to the newer version is again go and copy this hash over here of the newer version. And I'll do git checkout and Control Shift V and press enter. And now you can see that new.txt file is added back. And now I'm again on the latest version. ये समझा सबको? How to use the checkout command?
Hello.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am not able to open the text file like in VS Code directly.
You can first you need to trust the authors, I believe.
I did that. उसके बाद नहीं हो रहा.
Okay. It shouldn't happen like that. You can just close your VS Code entirely and try to open it once again.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the next command which we have for today. Okay. Before that, we'll learn about branching and what branching exactly is. So many of us over here use Instagram, and recently Instagram added a feature of that wherein you can actually leave a note, right? You can leave a note for your followers, which is quite Twitter-like, but let's not go in. Let's not go there. So what do you think? Ki Instagram directly added this to the main code ka file, or first they were testing it side by side? Ki like the main code was live, which we were using the Instagram app, and somewhere they were having a development test. The beta testing was going on, wherein they were actually testing this feature and ki, is this working for everyone? So there's where branching comes in help. For example, consider this blue line as my main branch, or the main branch which is visible to everyone, right? And this purple branch as the development branch, wherein I'm adding those features. So I'm adding those features over here and testing those features. Key if those features are working, and if those features are actually working, I can actually merge this branch back there, so that the code which I was testing and which is now bug free is now added back to the main branch and is now visible to each and everyone out there. So that is why branching is actually necessary for us. Okay? I hope so you got what I'm trying to say over here. कि branching क्यों necessary है, and there can be multiple branches. It can't, ऐसा नहीं है कि you can only have one branch or two branch. You can have multiple branches which branches from a singular branch, or like एक दूसरी branch से branch होता है. It's like just imagine a tree का branch. So एक branch से बहुत सारे branches निकलते हैं. In a similar way, that same thing happens in Git. Okay. So now the commands to use branch are over here, and we'll actually test those commands. So yeah, firstly, to check how many branches you have currently is we'll use the branch command. So I'll type in git branch and press in enter. And यहाँ पे तुम देख सकते हो मेरे पास अभी एक ही branch है, which is the master branch, right? So that was the git branch wala command, which actually lists all the branches present in your current Git repository. And now how to create a new branch. So for that, okay. So for that, the command is git branch again, and then space and the name of the branch. For example, the development branch or the dev branch, and then just press enter. And अगर मैं वापस git branch को type करूं. Also, one more thing about terminal is you can use your up and down arrow keys to to view the previous history of the commands you type. So अगर मैंने up arrow की दबाया, it actually shows me all the commands जो मैंने अभी तक use किए. So I'll use the git branch command and press enter. And you can see now I have two branches. First एक ही branch था. Now I've created a dev branch over here, and it is now visible as dev. So how to switch to that dev branch? We'll again use the git checkout command, which we used recently. Okay, git checkout, and then what we are checking out, dev branch, and just press enter. And now it actually says that switch to branch dev. And just to show you, I'll type in git branch, and you can see that the asterisk is on the dev branch. That means we are working on the dev branch. And the beautiful thing about using Visual Studio Code is you can actually see the branches over here. So just to confirm you visually, you can see कि dev branch is over here. But one thing is quite strange for me is कि यहाँ पे तो same दोनों files है, like dev branch and main branch में कोई फर्क नहीं है. Why is this happening? Is because we created the dev branch from the main branch itself. So I took the main branch, I copied the code and created a dev branch. So that's why it's happening. So यहाँ पे also in this example also, what we did is we made the first version, we made the second version, and then we took it and made the dev branch over here, right? So dev branch firstly has the same code as the initial main branch, and now we'll be making some changes. So now let's make some changes to confirm. यहाँ पे देख सकते हो it's on the dev branch, and now in new.text I'll add some new features. Add some new features. Okay. And another good thing about visuals using VS Code is you can actually see your changes over here. You can click this green bar over here, and it actually shows you the changes which you're making. But for that, you need to install this GitHub Wala extension, and which we'll be needing in the further GitHub session. Terminal. So now I'll add these files. So just to check it once, I'll do the git status command, and you can see that one file has been modified. I'll add this file by using git add command. And now I'll commit this file. Again, I'm saying it once again कि यहाँ पे commit message में कुछ important डालो, because when you are revisiting your project after a month or after a few months, तुम्हें कोई idea नहीं होता तुमने first version में क्या लिखा है. So that's why I highly recommend you guys to write in some valuable text over here so that you get an idea of what this version stands for. So since I added some new features, so I'll type in added new features for dev, right? And I'll commit it. Just to check it once कि मेरा commit हुआ है, I'll use the git status command and press in enter. And you can see on branch dev, nothing to commit, working tree screen. And now what we'll do is we'll switch back to the main branch. Okay? Just to show you that these changes which I made in the dev branch are not present in the main branch, and mera main branch untouched hai, so that I can actually work on these experimental features over here. And my main branch ka code is undisturbed. So to switch back to the main branch, I'll use the git checkout command, and we'll be checking out the master branch. I believe it's master. And now I've switched back to the master branch, and you can see that added new features has been deleted automatically. It's because वो present नहीं था in the master branch. And this is somewhat okay. So this is somewhat similar to this diagram. So first version हमने बनाया, then we compiled the second version. We made the dev branch from the main branch, and then we added some changes. But these changes weren't present over here, right? So this is about Git branching. But what if you believe that your feature has evolved and like uske andar bug fixes ho gaye hai, and you are now confident enough that you can actually merge that branch back to the main branch so that everyone can have the benefit of the new features. So how we can proceed with that? So firstly, I have to switch my branch back to the dev branch to show you that added new features is back over here. And now I'll also add a new I'll also do some bug fixes. Okay. I'll do some bug fixes in the code, and then I'm confident कि हाँ, now my code is quite good. So I can actually commit these changes to the main branch. So for that, firstly, let's commit it to the dev branch. So let's add those files. So I'll add the new text file, and then I'll commit it. Fixed bugs. Okay. And now just to check it once, git status. And yeah, I'm on the dev branch. Now, how to merge two branches? So for example, if I want to merge my dev branch into my main branch, so for that, I need to be on my main branch, and then only I can merge the dev branch. So how you can get back to the main branch? We'll use the checkout command. So git checkout main, correct? Oh, sorry, it's master. Master, and press enter. And now I've switched back to the master branch. And now I'll merge the dev branch over here. Just to check it once कि मैं master branch पे I'll type in git branch. And यहाँ पे it shows me the green color and the asterisk is on the master branch, or you can see it using the Visual Studio Code. Okay, now I'll merge which branch? I'll merge the dev branch with the main branch. So just a second. So the code for that is git branch and then the git merge and then the branch name. So I'll use the same command over here, git merge dev, and press in enter. And now you can see that those bugs changes, those new features and bug fixes were added back in the main branch. So what I did over here is I took this branch and merged it back to the main branch so that everyone can get those features. This is what git branching is, and iska kya benefits hai, you just saw it yourself. I was working side by side on the new features, and once those features evolved to that point I can actually add them back to my main branch, I added them back without disturbing my main branch ka code. So what happens in most of the time is तुमने देखा होगा कि many sites actually go down for a few while, like it will go down for an hour and so. So what they are doing over there is they are actually merging those branches and making sure that everything works once they finally release those versions. So yeah, that was a real world example. And another thing before we start with GitHub is the git ignore file. And क्यों ये important है? Let's see it for ourselves. समझो the directory which I'm working in also stores my passwords. So I'll make a passwords.txt file. ठीक है? And I'll store in my password. So my password is 123456789. Very secure password. So I'll store it in my password.txt file. But now what happens is if I go over here in the terminal and show you one thing, I'll clear it once and I show you git status. It actually shows me the passwords.txt file, but I don't want this file to be tracked by Git. मेरे को नहीं चाहिए कि someone is actually storing my passwords or Git is storing my passwords, which is actually visible to my whole project team. So how I can like ignore this file? So for that we have .git ignore files. And how you can create those files? Just right click over here, new file, and type in .git ignore. एंड जैसे तुम टाइप करोगे यहाँ पे तुम्हें एक छोटा सा गिट का आइकन भी दिख जाएगा जस्ट टू मेक श्योर दैट देयर आर नो टाइपोस एंड प्रेस इन एंटर. And now over here I can add in those passwords.txt file by just typing the name of it. So passwords.txt file. And now what this git ignore file is telling Git is go like track all the files except these files. So just ignore these files. So that's why यहाँ से अब वो U mark हट गया. So if I go ahead and show it to you in the terminal, git status, you can see that only the git ignore file has been added. And git ignore file हमेशा add कर दो. Why? Because it's not actually storing a password. It's actually telling कि ignore these files. And you can actually ignore the git ignore file itself. So git ignore add कर देते हैं इसमें. And if I type in git status, you can see there is no files to be committed. So in this situation, I want my git ignore file to be added, to be committed. So I'll do the git status again. And now I'll add those files. So I'll add all the files of the current working directory. Okay, just a second. I'll clear the screen for you. Okay, and now I'll commit those changes. Git commit -m. I hope so you are doing this along with me ताकि तुम्हारा भी practice होता रहेगा. And now added git ignore file and just press enter. That's it. That's how simple it is. And just to check it कि मेरे सारे commits actually store हो रहे हैं या नहीं, we'll use the git log command. Okay, just type in git log and press enter, and you can see all those commits I made from the start of the session. And to end it, just press Q. That's it. So over here you can see the latest commit was added git ignore file. Uske pehle was bug fixes. Before that was new features for dev branch. And since we actually merged the dev branch with the main branch, and before that was the added new file and the first commit, initial commit. So you can actually see the snapshot of all those commits which we made and these commits were actually made and who made those commits. That's the benefits of using a VCS or a version control system. आई होप सो तुम लोग को समझा होगा क्यों हम लोग वर्जन कंट्रोल सिस्टम यूज कर रहे हैं और उसका नीड क्या है इसके लिए. ठीक है, ओके ग्रेट. So those of you who actually have their GitHub account, I'll suggest कि जो तुम लोगों ने starting में user name डाला था, जो मैंने यहाँ पे तुम्हें बताया था, by changing the config file in setup git, just make sure that the username which you actually inserted over here is same as your GitHub ka username, and the user email ID is same as your GitHub ka email ID, so that it can actually verify you. Then only we can use GitHub to connect by using VS Code. ठीक है? And those of you जिन्होंने अभी तक like account नहीं बनाया, let's make an account. Let's learn about GitHub. So firstly, why we need GitHub? इसको need समझा अभी तक? Because the things which we learned till now by using Git were we were actually making changes on our local system only. Like we were actually making those changes and storing those changing on my machine itself. So those changes aren't visible to you, right? I can't share my project with you. So how we can share those projects? एक मेरे को एक online platform चाहिए wherein I can host my online repository. So GitHub is that platform itself, and not the only platform which utilizes Git at its core. There are many platforms like GitLab also, but GitHub is the most famous platform out there and the most trusted platform out there. So yeah, we'll be learning about GitHub, and you can just go ahead to github.com and you can start making an account over there. I'll sign out of my account and just sign up over here, and the process is quite simple. It's as simple as making an Instagram account. Okay? So I'll do the same on my Windows machine. What I'll do over here is actually have an empty Git account. I'll go to GitHub. I'll sign in with my account. Okay. So once you sign up for your account, तुम्हारा भी Git account ऐसा कुछ दिखेगा. It will look quite messy and like यहाँ पे तुम्हें सारी changes suggest करेगा. We'll do some changes. We'll make a new repository. And now I'll say कि top right पे तुम्हें तुम्हारा profile icon दिख रहा होगा. Click on that. Go to your profile, and your profile will look like this somewhat. So once you go to your profile, you can like तुम्हें ऐसा कुछ interface दिखेगा. And now you can go ahead over the repository section, and you can see that you don't have any public repositories. And अब repo क्या होता है? The repo which we made, that is the learning Git by initializing a Git repository. That is basically what a repository is. So this is also a repository, but this is a public hosted repository. So we'll make one, and we'll be making a new repository. So we'll name it same as the local one, that is learning Git. And kuch mat karo, just go down and create this repo. Simple. And there is it. And तुम्हारा repo अभी create हो गया है. तो अगर तुम वापस अपनी प्रोफाइल पे जाओगे और यहाँ पे repo में जाओगे, you can actually see this repository. And it's actually telling me, and it's actually prompting me to connect this to a local repository. And we'll do that in a while. But before that, as I promised you, go ahead and sign up for GitHub Student Developer Pack. This is the thing to go. And yes, GitHub free में goodies देता है सबको, that every student can use this. All you need to do is firstly, the account which you just made, make sure to go into settings, go into emails, and add in your Somaya account over here, or your any education account, .edu account. And then you can go over here on the GitHub Student Developer Pack, and you can actually sign up for the developer pack. And the process is quite simple, and both teachers and students can sign up. Okay. Why to sign up for it? You can just look at the benefits of signing up for GitHub Student Developer Pack. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was here. So I think so अभी तक सबने account बना के repo बना लिया होगा. Okay. So learning Git repository. Now what we'll be doing is we'll be connecting our existing repository to our locally hosted repository. So now there are two options over here. Is firstly to create a new repository on the command line, or else you can actually push an existing repository to the from the command line itself. So since हमने starting of the session में एक repository पहले से बना रखा था, that is the learning Git repository, we don't need to actually create a new repository from start. So I'll copy these three commands, and ये three commands क्या करते हैं I'll be telling you. ठीक है? Don't worry about it. I'll first clear my terminal. and yeah, paste. So firstly, the first command ये क्या करता है? It actually adds a link of GitHub का remote repository का link to my current repository. So it establishes a connection between my remote repo and my current repo. The second link actually just tells GitHub to कि जो हमारा main branch है, it's actually main, it's actually confirming it. And lastly, we'll use a git push command, जो ये है. So it is git push origin main. Now, as soon as I press enter, you'll have a prompt. Okay, you'll have a prompt over here from GitHub, which will ask you to authorize GitHub account. So since मेरा GitHub यहाँ पे already authorized and connected है, that's why जो changes थे वो यहाँ पे push हो गए. But since you're doing it for the first time, it will actually prompt you to sign into your GitHub account and just open it via browser. And firstly, it will only prompt you this if you are installed that GitHub ka extension. You don't need any SSH keys to connect Git with GitHub. All you need is just install this GitHub ka extension along with GitHub ka extension along with the Visual Studio Code and just push your code from there. And now what you guys can see is that my code has been pushed over here on the cloud hosted repository, and you can actually view the text files over here. So it says hello world, a new text file bhi hai yahan pe, and this is actually visible to each and everyone since it's a publicly hosted repository. ठीक है? ये point समझा सबको? Has everyone connected their Git repo? Yeah. Go ahead, Alan.
How did you just merge your dev branch to main master?
Okay. So for merging your branch, I'll tell you again. So I'll clear my terminal. So firstly, agar tujhe, for example, you want to merge your dev branch with your main branch, right? So, okay, एक second. So you need to merge your dev branch with a main branch. So make sure that you should be on the main branch. So first I'll check ki I'm really on my main branch or not. So I'll type in the git branch command and it can show you, and it will show you ki yes, you are on your main branch. या यहाँ से देख रहे हैं. ठीक है? Now to merge my dev branch, I'll use the git merge command and then the name of the branch I want to merge. So for in this case, I want to merge my dev branch with my main branch. So I'll type in git merge dev. But make sure you are on your main branch. अगर तू dev branch पे है and then you are typing in git merge main, then it will actually merge your main branch with your dev branch, which you don't want. So I'll just press in this and I'm already up to date with the main branch. So it won't add in some changes. Did you got it?
Yep.
Yep. And you can actually see your repository hosted on GitHub over here. So just to see कि मैंने actually में किया है, I'll paste the link over here and you can actually see this repository by yourself. This is a publicly hosted repository. You can click on this link and like go ahead. So अब मैं अपने main account से भी देखता हूँ एक बार. I'll sign in with my main account. ठीक है? Now I am on my main account just to show it to you here. And I'll paste that link. And I can actually view that repository which I just created, right? It's quite simple, isn't it? ठीक है? And now, as I promised you all, कि मेरे पास F5 के लिए एक gift है, that is that BTech F5 repo which I created. So I want you all to clone that repo, and what cloning is, let's learn about it. Okay. So before cloning that repo is quite a big chunk of data. So we'll clone today's session's repo. So ये session का जो मैं तुम्हें आज सिखा रहा हूँ, it contains the PPT file. It also contains all the useful links which I've showed you in today's session, along with the cheat sheets. Okay. So another great resource which I'll say you to check out is the Git and GitHub cheat sheet over here. This is actually an open source project which my friend made and is quite helpful. You can visit the website and you can find each and everything over here, and it's quite beautifully made. So I'll highly recommend you all to check it out. Okay, when you are learning Git and GitHub. So how we can clone a repo, right? That's the question. So let's look at it. So yeah, over here. So we added that link, we pushed our changes, and now okay. Okay, before we clone that repo, let's learn about pulling. What pull is actually. So for example, let's take कि you are actually working in a group of two. Okay, you and your friend are working on a project and he made some changes. So up currently I can't actually hire a friend. So I'll make some changes on my Git repo itself. So I'll add the README file over here. Okay. And I'll just go ahead and create the README file. वो auto commit हो जाएगा. So I'll add it. I'll add a commit message. Added README file and commit new file. That's it. And now you can see that a readme.md file has been created on my GitHub, not on my Git. यहाँ पे मेरी local repo में inside VS Code there isn't any readme.md file. How can I pull those changes? How can I get those changes? So as the name suggests, I'll use the git pull command. So as soon as I type in git pull, it actually pulls all those changes. And यहाँ पे we can see that a readme file was created. Another thing great about readme.md files, MD actually stands for markdown files, is that they are used to create your GitHub profile. So तुम लोग देख रहे होगे कि मेरा profile quite different है than yours. It's because I've edited this readme.md file, right? This markdown file. You can also do the same and build your GitHub profile, which is quite similar to building a personal portfolio site. You can actually do this by using this link over here. I've given the link of the profile builder, and all you need to do is just fill in your details, all the languages you know, and it will auto generate a readme file for you. And at the end of the day, तुम्हें बस एक new repo banani hai, named same as your username, and add a readme file over there. That's it. And then you'll have a repo like me कि कभी भी कोई भी तुम्हारा profile खोलेगा, they'll actually see these things first. And since over here मैंने कोई repo नहीं बनाई on my dummy account, my dummy account looks quite bland, right? So yeah, I actually made those changes over here. Okay, I was teaching you about pull, right? So what if I made some changes in the README file, like hello everyone, my name is Patsy. Okay. What if I made some changes over here in the README file? So first I need to add it to the staging area, and then I'll commit those changes, right? Staging area में add किया, then I'll commit those changes. So added new, no, added intro to README file. I'll commit these changes and I'll do the git status command to check if my working tree is clean. Yeah, it is. And now to push those changes back to the remote repo, क्योंकि if you guys can go ahead over here in the GitHub and see, यहाँ पे readme file में अभी तक कोई changes नहीं आए, which I made on my local repo. So how can I like push those changes? So as the name suggests, I'll push those changes, right? So I'll use the git push command and press enter. That's it. It will automatically push the main branch to the main branch. And now if I refresh my page, you can see, hello everyone, my name is Batsy. Simple, right? ये समझा सबको? Push and pull. Nice. ठीक है. So now we'll clone today's repo, जिसमें आज के सारे resources है along with the cheat sheet. How to clone that repo? So I'll teach you. ठीक है? Firstly, you can clone any public repo out there. ठीक है? So all these repos which are public on my account, you can clone those, and you can actually view the code which I wrote. So how you can do that? So we'll go in today's repo which I created for you all. That is the MLSA Git and GitHub wala repo. And all you need to do is click over here on code, and यहाँ पे it will give you an HTTPS link. You need to copy that. Okay, I'll paste it in the chat itself so that you can clone it on your local machine. Okay, open your Visual Studio Code inside that Learning Git folder only. Okay, I'll clear my terminal and now type in along with me. Type in git clone and paste in that command. To paste it, press Ctrl, Shift, and V. On Mac, just press Command V. That's it. Okay? And press in Enter. And as you guys can see, मेरे पास वो folder automatically आ गया है. Just to show it to you, I'll open it using the GUI and MLSA Git and GitHub. तो इसमें तुम लोग को cheat sheets मिल जाएगी for markdown files for the Git cheat sheet. You can actually view the commands over here. And you can also view today's session ka PPT over here. So all the resources are shared with you, right? But अब एक problem हो रही है. किसने notice किया कि Git is wanting to track this entire folder of mine. अब मैं नहीं चाहता कि this folder of mine goes to my remote repo, right? Just to show it to you कि it actually wants to track it, I'll do the git status command and it actually shows कि it wants to track that folder. How can I protect Git from like actually tracking this folder? Anyone can answer that. अभी हमने पढ़ा था. Because I don't want that folder to show up over here, right? How can I prevent it?
Just add it to GitHub.
Right. So we can add it to git ignore, and how we can actually add folders to git ignore is actually ignoring all the files inside the inside of particular folder. So just add in a folder right up. So I'll do the same over here. Take a second. Okay, I'll do the same over here. I'll go to the git ignore file and I'll add the folder name. So it is MLSA git, and make sure that the case is same as that in the name itself, GitHub. And since it's a folder, I'll add it. And now it just shows me that I have modified my git ignore file. And I'll open the terminal. I'll first clear it. And now if I do git status, you can see only the git ignore file has been modified and not the entire MLSA and GitHub wala today's folder. So now I can like commit this git ignore file. So I'll add this first. Okay. First I'll add this to the staging area and then I'll commit this -m and modified git ignore. That's my commit message. I'll press enter. And now you can see I'm working clean on my tree. And now I want to push these changes to my remote repo. So I'll use git push command and press enter. So you can see मैंने ये वाला line add किया था, right? We'll go ahead and open GitHub over here. And just to confirm it once, open the git ignore file and you can see MLSA git and GitHub has been added. समझा ये सबको? How I added a folder to git ignore file? Right. Great. Yeah, go ahead. अच्छा, doubt है कोई? नहीं? So yeah, that were the basics of using Git along with GitHub. Now we'll be learning about some terminologies. I suppose someone was asking what a pull request is and कि क्या कैसे कर सकते हैं pull request. So we'll be learning about that and how we can actually use that to contribute to open source. Firstly, there is something called as a fork. A fork is basically it actually creates a copy of the repository on your folder without like actually disturbing the original repository. So I'll show it to you once. So अगर तुम लोगों ने अभी तक ये मेरा repo clone नहीं किया है, there is another way of actually making this repo as your own. So that is by, I hope so मैंने ये repo का link दिया. Yeah, I pasted that link. So you can actually, go ahead to GitHub and you can paste in that link. And यहाँ पे you can see a button over here. Like you can see a fork button over here, right? You can click that fork button. And now before clicking that fork button, I want to show you that I only have one repository. That is the learning Git repository. Now see what happens as soon as I click that fork button. It actually prompts me that it will create a new repository named same as the fork repository MLSA Git and GitHub on my GitHub. Right? And now let's go ahead in my repositories and I'll refresh the page for you. And you can see यहाँ पे एक और repository here. And when I open that repository, it actually shows that I forked this repository from Pargat Dhanjal, MLSA Git and GitHub. And now this creates our own copy of my repository on my GitHub, so that अब मैं इसमें changes कर सकूँ. For example, if I want to change the README file, I can actually change that README file, and that won't affect the original file hosted on my repo, right? So अब मैंने यहाँ पे change किया to this repo, that is Git and GitHub. And if I go ahead and show my original repo that is hosted on my actual account, you can see यहाँ पे MLSA नहीं आता. But over here on this repo, since it's a copy of my repo, यहाँ पे मैंने हटा दिया, and it won't affect the other user. So this is how you can contribute to open source. So let's say a project interests you and you think, yeah, this project is really great. And actually the project which I showed you over here of my friend of Git cheat sheet is also an open source project, a part of the Hacktoberfest. So he created this project and many people actually contributed to this project. How did they contributed to this project? They first created a fork of this project. So they first created a fork over here, and then they cloned this repo from their GitHub to their local machine, and then they started making some changes and they added some new features. And then after they have added those features, they can actually make a pull request, and there's where the concept of pull request comes. So since we have created a fork originally, okay, and we can freely experiment with the project and play around with the code without actually concerning the actual code, and now we can make a pull request. So a pull request or a PR, okay, is a request made to the repo, to the original repo from which I cloned it, so that I can actually merge that code. So let's say, for example, मेरा जो friend का repo which I just showed you, I forked it, right? And once I forked it, I made some changes. I can make a pull request to him, so that I'm requesting him to add those changes which I made in my personal repo to his main repo, so that it's visible to everyone. And that is how open source contribution actually is. And we can actually, contribute to open source. So I'll create a pull request right over here. So I'll create a pull request from my dummy account to my main account, and how we can actually create it. So you can see I've modified the README file over here, right? I've removed MLSA from here, and now I'll make a pull request. So to make a pull request, you can go in pull request ka tab, and you can go ahead and click on new pull request, right? And it actually shows you what changes you made. So it is actually showing me the deletion which I made, and it's actually going to the base repo of master branch from my branch to that original branch. And I'll create a pull request. Click on this, and you can actually create a message. So made some changes to the README file, and put in the description of what contribution you made in the description over here. So some description here. Okay. And once you create a pull request, it actually shows up in the owner ka folder. So I'll open up my main account, and if I refresh it over here, I can see there is a pull request. So someone is making a pull request over here. And if I go ahead and open it, you can see the same jo message मैंने डाला था, I can see it over here. So someone is actually trying to contribute to my project. So I can actually view those changes which he actually made. So I can see he updated the README file and he removed this. So there are two options for me. I can actually merge this pull request. I can actually allow him to make some changes. For example, do some more changes. So I'm actually prompting him to do some more changes, so that he'll get a message and work on the code a bit more. And once I'm convinced that yes, this code is quite good enough for my repo, I can actually merge that pull request from myself. So I'm merging this pull request, and I'll confirm the merge. And once your pull request gets accepted, and once the pull request is merged, what happens is, look over here. वहां से वो MLSA हट गया. It's because I merged that code from my other account. Got it? And over here you can see it's merged, right? And this is the same code which I said, and it actually says merge pull request from my account. So that is how you can make contribution to the open source. And lastly is issues. It is what it sounds like, is actually you can raise those issues. I won't suggest you directly like directly making a pull request. First, you need to raise an issue so that you can actually ask the owner of the repository that you can actually work on a new feature, or you have found a bug, or you need to like work on the documentation, anything. So how to raise an issue? It's also quite simple. Yeah. So you can go ahead in the issues tab and you can ask him for a new issue. So from here, you can say there is an issue in the code, or, I would like to add some changes, and just describe your issue. And once you have described your issue, the owner of the repository can actually assign those issues to you, so that you are the one who is actually working actively on that feature. And this is how open source projects like visual. Firstly, I'll say the projects that you mostly use, like Android हो गया, पूरा Linux based हो गया, ठीक है, Flutter हो गया, React हो गया. All these frameworks are open source. So ये सारी frameworks में सब लोग contribute करते हैं. All of them come together and work on those code on a particular code base. So through this you can actually manage your issues and manage and like assign a particular task to one person, so that it's like अच्छे से flow में जा रहा है सब. It's not like कि one person is going after a particular bug and वो दूसरा person भी is also going after that particular bug, and it would be chaos like if there aren't any issue management. So this is why we actually use GitHub. ठीक है. And if I show you over here, if I refresh my page on my main account, I can actually see that someone has raised an issue, and I can, if I want, I can assign this issue or I can close this issue. So I will close this issue for now. So yeah, that was it for Git and GitHub, I believe. And now the workflow which I explained you of how you can contribute is quite similar. So now I'll explain you the workflow of how to contribute. जो मैंने अभी just explain किया, just in a good and a linear fashion. So firstly, you need to find an issue, or you can actually go ahead and suggest for a feature which you like to work upon the code. And then you can ask the maintainer of the code to assign you the issue, as I showed you. And once he assigns you the issue, you can fork that repository and then you can clone that repo. And once you have forked and cloned that repo, you can like start and make a new branch and you can start working on those code, and you can like start making those changes which you want. Once your changes are made and you're confident enough with your code, you can like commit those changes, and then push your code to your remote repository, and then make a pull request to the owner of the repo, so that he can actually review your code. And if he feels like there are some changes which he wants to see in your code, he can actually suggest you those changes. And finally, when you have made those changes and your code is like and your code perfectly fits with the vision of the project, they can actually accept your pull request, and hooray, your pull request gets merged. That is the whole gist of how open source contribution works. As I promised you, we are reaching the end of the session. So it's quiz time. So I'll suggest all of you to take out your phones and let's start and prepare for a quiz. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Let's start. Okay, so which of the following command adds the file to the staging area? Is it the git push file command, git stage command, git add command, or git commit command? You have 10 seconds or 15 seconds to answer this question. Let's see. Okay, so it's actually the git add command by which you can add those files to the staging area. Okay, let's move on. Let's see the leaderboard. Okay, so I believe Parth is on top. Second is Mihir, then Dia. Okay, let's see. Okay, question 2. So the question is, which of the GitHub features allows you to create your own copy of the public repo? Is it the clone command? Is it the fork feature? Is it the pull feature, or none of these? Make sure it's a GitHub feature, okay? It's actually the fork command. You can use the fork command by which you can create a copy of your own public repo on your GitHub. So it's a GitHub feature, right? So most of you marked it as clone. That's that's why I put this question over here. So it's actually the fork command. Okay, so oh wow. So Path is first, Vishnut is second, and Algio is third. Okay, let's move on. Third question. Which of these terms best describe GitHub? ध्यान से पढ़ना ये वाला, okay? Be a bit careful. Web-based repository hosting service, distributed version control system, integrated development environment, or issue tracking system. Best describes GitHub, okay? 2, 1. And let's see. It's actually a web-based repository hosting service. Distributed version control system is what Git is. Here we are asking for what GitHub is. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the stance has changed. And Algio is first, BT second, Parth is third. And Parth and Mihir. Wow, tough competition called. Okay, moving on. Fourth question. What command do you run to view the commit history of your repository? Is it the git pass command, git history command, git commit -h command, or the git log command? ये सबका correct होना चाहिए, please. Think about it. Take your time. Okay, let's see. Okay, most of you got it right this time. So it is the git log command by which you can see the log of all the commits you have made, right? And let's see the leaderboard, right? Okay, great. So Algio is first, Parth is second, and Mihir is third. Nice. Let's move on with the final question of today. Just a second, I'm admitting someone to the. Yeah, the final question is. Okay, the final question is how to commit a message. Carefully read this one, okay, please. So is it the first one, the second one, the third one, or the fourth one? I won't be reading it out loud. Just carefully look at your screens, okay? Let's see who is the winner. कौन जीतेगा, bro? Okay. Oh, most of you got this one right. Great. Yeah, it is actually the git commit -m and then the message itself. That is the correct option. And let's see the final result. Okay. So Algio is first, Mihir is second, and Parth is third. So those who actually feel they want to like know about the MLSA program, I'll be talking about it now. So those who are actually interested can actually stay back and learn how they can become MLSA just like me. I'd like you all to introduce you to Devansh. Devansh, can you turn on your camera if possible?
Arey, turn on my camera.
Yeah. Please. So actually, Devansh is a beta ambassador at Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, and he was the one who actually introduced me to the program. So I was also just a clueless FI like you. And in a session, he actually introduced me to the program, and I was actually genuinely interested in the program, and I wanted to become a MLSA like him. So he inspired me, and now I am here hosting my first event, and it's great. So actually, I've given you the links in the repo in today's repo itself. You can open my repo over here, and you can actually see and view the MLSA ka site. And I also have a video for you all to view. So I'll share the video with you. Just wait a second.
The Student Ambassador community is a global community of like-minded students that share a passion for technology and for having an impact in the world.
It's an amazing thing for people that both like social gatherings and in the same time they like tech communities.
It's Microsoft helping folks around our campus.
I wanted to improve my skills and I wanted to get connected with people that can help me do that.
Best benefit is the access to MS Learn and LinkedIn Learning as well.
You get an extra subscription for tinkering around when you join the community and have completed your first milestone.
You'll also get to be mentored by Microsoft employees.
It's really a very wholesome experience where we're all just trying to help each other grow.
I thought that people were having a lot of fun, but in the same time, they were learning a lot of stuff.
Everything that we have in the community is very inclusive and it welcomes everyone as they are.
This is a great place to learn new skills, to connect with people, to create community, to help others.
Students accomplish so much in this community. Not only do they build their own skills and their brand, but they create content. They run hackathons. They get mentorship. And they put that all on their resumes. And they get full-time jobs when they graduate. It's really amazing.
Anything that's happening in my career probably started with this program.
Be sure to apply for it. You would definitely enjoy being a Microsoft Student Ambassador.
So yeah, that's overview of the whole program. And those who are interested can actually check out the main site. I'll paste the link in the chat. And I'll tell you an overview. Firstly, the applications are open year-wide, the whole year, and the applications are accepted quarterly. So my application, I applied in, I believe in November, somewhere around in November, and my application got accepted in the month of January. And I got an email that saying that I was accepted for the program. And the whole program is quite simple and it's quite flexible. You don't feel like you were burdened by the program, and it's really great. And you also get to learn about new stuff. You know, you can learn along with other peers, like your other peers, and there is a wholesome community of many MLSAs around the globe. So you can contact them, you can collaborate on projects, and you can actually work along with them. And the other great thing is that it actually helps you to develop new skills. You can develop your tech skills, you can improve your public speaking skills, and you can like improve yourself in general. So I'll highly recommend you all to check this program. And one more link which I do have is this. This is the blog which actually helped me to become a MLSA. I'll also share the link over here. All these links are present in the Git repo. So no need to worry कि ये links गुम हो जाएंगे. They are there on the repo itself. Okay? We can go through this program once and you can like see and learn how the whole process is about and how you can become a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador yourself. And yeah, that's it for today's session. I hope so you all liked it. And if you did, then please fill out the feedback forms. I believe sabne bhar liya hoga. And as soon as you fill out your feedback forms, you'll receive your certificates for today's session as well. And yeah, that's it. So hi, okay. So hello everyone, meet Devansh, who actually introduced me to the program. I'll spotlight him. Yeah. So Devansh, is there something you need to say about the program? And what was your experience till now?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Pargat. Thank you for inviting me. And I love the session. You have done a great job. And I hope everyone feels the same for him. So guys, first of all, can you give a virtual cheer for him? Like for the entire workshop he did. Yeah, he deserves it. He has put in a lot of work. Nice. And yeah. So yes, thank you, Pargat, for telling that I was the one who brought you into this program. I'm very glad to know that. And guys, for everyone who is here, this opportunity is open for all. There might be a thought in you that maybe you're not as qualified, or you may be thinking that this is something I'm not ready for. I would just like to add that whatever Pargat said is completely true. And whatever you are, wherever you are, even if you are a complete beginner, even if you are learning for the first time, I would highly recommend all of you to join in and try out such programs like Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, as they will help you to grow into something that you would envision. And as I said, as Pargat said as well, that I was sitting where Pargat is sitting last year, and right now, as you can see, how he has grown into such a capable individual, and he's taking such events. So yeah, you can be the one who is taking the events next year. And yeah, it is just a process where you will get to learn, grow with the entire community. There are monthly events in Microsoft Learn community that you get so many goodies. If you are not doing it for anything else, do it for the goodies. You will love the goodies and everything that comes along with it. And yeah, it's an amazing experience. It will give you a huge um, work around for the stuff that you would never see coming. Like you will get to participate in offline events all across the world, which happens, and you will be invited in especially. So yeah, if you are interested, hit Pargat, let him know whatever questions you have, and he will help you out with everything. So yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you, Pargat, for calling me, and it was such a lovely event. Keep it up, man.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, that is it for today's session. And if you guys do have any doubts, then feel free to contact me at any time. You do have my email ID. I've emailed you, right? So feel free to contact me anytime and ask your doubts. But कुछ भी तुम्हें नहीं समझा, then go ahead and just ask me. ठीक है? Message me. Okay, that's it. So I hope so you like this, like today's session. And yeah, go ahead, Mir.
So I had filled the MLSA form a few
Mhm.
months back, and my application got rejected.
Okay. So one thing you can do is you can actually like I believe you can reapply after a time. Like you can reapply for the next quarter. So I'll say go ahead and reapply for the next quarter, and like present yourself and be confident. I believe there are 3 questions you need to answer in an MLSA application. 2 of them are essay writing, and one of them you have to actually make a video and you have to show out your public speaking skills. So I'll say go ahead and practice on that, and also put in some projects on your GitHub, and tell them about how you are interested and how you'll be building a community of people of like-minded. That's it. That's what I did for my application, frankly. And yeah, the blog which I shared with you, it covers most of the part which needs to be there.
And yeah, guys,
Okay.
just to add what Pargat said, guys, you just have to get in once, okay? No matter how many tries it takes, how many times you're rejected, you just have to get in once. So keep trying, guys. Ho jayega. I know it's kind of a thing that you get demotivated if you don't get in, but keep trying, and it will turn out to be a great success very soon.
Yep. I totally believe in that. So yeah, and once you got in, you'll get digital goodies. And once you become, there are actually 4 milestones. There is the new ambassador, there is the alpha ambassador, there is the beta ambassador, and then there is the gold ambassador. You can actually find these details in the blog itself. And in a gist is key, when you become an alpha ambassador, you get some digital goodies. When you become the beta ambassador by hosting an event or actively participating in social impact league projects, you actually get physical goodies. So yeah, that's it. And it's quite difficult to actually become a gold ambassador. And becoming a gold ambassador is like representing your district or representing your community. So it's quite a big deal, and it's quite tough to become a gold ambassador. But yeah, if you are really interested in the program, and if you are really hardworking and you really believe in the cause which they are trying to achieve, then nothing is stopping you. Not, then I'll wrap up today's session by ending the meeting. Thank you all for joining in, and I'll see you next time around soon. So thanks once again for joining in for the session. I hope you all learned something new today and you find the session interesting. The resources has been shared with you. If you have any doubts, just hit me up. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for joining in, guys. We'll see you again. Bye.